Welcome, everybody, to the first ever Warhammer 40K Narrative League stream. I am your host, Chandler Spradling, and I will be taking you through this game. Tonight, we are going to be playing a 1,000-point game using the Supply Cache mission type. Tonight we've got two players who are going to be bringing the Imperial Knights as one of the factions and the Alpha Legion for the other faction. The Miniature Market Narrative League, as kind of opposed to something more like a traditional sort of competitive league. The Narrative League is going to be focusing on a story over the next couple of weeks, which will be evolving as the players go through and compete with the various game types. As such, due to the narrative nature of this league, we are going to have a couple of different spins on each game type that you won't necessarily find in your Warhammer 40k 9th edition core rulebook. Tonight we will be playing the Narrative League mission Supply Cache, but with a twist. For those of you who are watching the stream, if you look on the map, you can see there are two gray markers on splitting board center and through that center terrain piece. Those are sentry markers where we have set up a couple of destructible terrain pieces that will actually activate throughout the game as sort of an AI. The players tonight are going to be raiding an STC vault in an attempt to find the treasures that are deep within. In doing that, they have activated the security systems, which detect both of them as hostile. Our players are just setting up right now. They've discussed before the game how they are going to be using the terrain rules for this system. Again, given the narrative play nature of this game that we're going to be playing in the campaign that's going to be happening over the next 6 weeks, we are playing a little bit looser with some of the rules that you might find in the Grand Tournament pack, so our players have agreed up front on what pieces of terrain are going to represent what as far as cover goes and obscuring. All right, players are now just setting up for the first round of today's match. Something to remind you all, if you go look in the description of the YouTube video, you will see that there is a bit.ly link. If there are any products here that you are interested in purchasing for Warhammer 40K or any of your gaming needs, you can follow that link to the Miniature Market website where you can pick up any products that Miniature Market has to offer. Miniature Market is, of course, St. Louis's premier board gaming supply store and sells worldwide from the St. Louis area. Players are just kind of finalizing their preparations for the first round of combat, and they are going over the preliminary rules. For those of you who might not be familiar with kind of 40K gaming etiquette, it's very common for players to actually talk through their armies. 40K is a massive game with very, very large rule books and very expansive army lists. So it is very common for players to go through and kind of talk about their armies, even if they are pro players. That way, everyone is able to have a good, fun game with good faith play. Our players tonight are, of course, Aiden, who is going to be representing the Imperial Knights. Imperial Knights are giant robots. For those of you who are interested in something like that, giant hulking mechs that stomp across the battlefield, piloted by nobility from the Imperium of Man. David is going to be playing the Alpha Legion, the Space Marines in blue, or rather Chaos Space Marines, as they are known. They are traitors to the Imperium and have given themselves over to the ruinous powers of chaos. David will be playing the Alpha Legion, which has rules specifically focused on stealth, espionage, ambush, and their defensive abilities.
They're not in the way right now, unless you want them. So the little ones are gonna have 13 wounds. The big ones are gonna have 30. Psychic deny? I think that might be something.
Love the hat. That corner.
Right here, we've got a close-up view of Aiden's army playing the Imperial Knights. As you can see, he has what appears to be a Knight Castellan and 2 Armiger Warglaves. Or Helverns, I've been corrected. Say the Armiger Warglaves are smaller mini knights, but they generally hit with the power of a large tank. You can see that he's gone with a blue and white and gold trim with his color scheme. Yeah, that's the general colors for our Imperial Knights player. Next, we're going to switch things over so that you can see our Alpha Legion player, David. He's doing the fairly traditional Alpha Legion, almost sea foam blue, dark blue-green color, representing the Hydra, as it is called, the Alpha Legion's insignia, and their Primarch, Alfarius, or Omegon, whichever you prefer, for those of you who are familiar with the lore of Warhammer 40K. And there you have it. You can see the Alpha Legion. Looks like David's going to be playing with some heavy infantry for the Alpha Legion, a large mech, a Chaos Land Raider for the tank, as well as a couple of different heroic units. I am not terribly familiar with the Alpha Legion and Chaos Space Marines, as I am a good Loyalist player who plays almost exclusively Dark Angels, Ultramarines, and the Imperial Guard. So it would be heretical for me to know the ins and outs of the Chaos Codex at this point. But you can also see what appears to be a Demon Prince. Say a Demon Prince that David's going to be playing with the fly wings. A Demon Prince is going to usually be a pretty powerful melee powerhouse unit. We will probably see him engage in some combat against the mechs, and will likely tear one of the mechs in half if we're lucky. Then in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, it looks like David's got some Chaos Cultists. Squishy chaff units, normal humans who have given themselves over to the ruinous powers. They tend to do very well with taking objectives, and not a whole lot else, but they are cheap units that you can put on the battlefield. Something to kind of keep in mind with a 40k game, if you're not familiar with how the game sort of operates, every unit has some kind of role to play in an army, and every unit within that also has a role to play within their given game type. So having something like a Chaos Cultist, which is commonly seen as a fairly weak chaff unit, can play a very strong role in capturing objectives and maintaining battlefield superiority. And it looks like our players are going to be getting ready to start to go into the deployment phase. In Warhammer 40k, the game takes place over a series of phases that then take place over a series of turns. Before the players will actually begin deployment, they're going to set up the objective tokens on the board. These objective markers are going to be how we are going to score the points for this game. The rules for supply drop has the players alternating placing their. We're going to have the players. I've just been asked on which player is going to start. So the players will alternate on placing their objective tokens, and I'm just going to have the players flip a coin to decide who is going to place the first objective marker, which we will of course do with a dice roll. We're going to say odds. Let me switch over to our dice cam real quick. And once we're switched over, we're going to have odds going for David. Evens will go for Aiden. We are good. Ready for the roll-off? And it looks like we are odds for David. David, you will be placing your objective markers first. So if you look at the stream, you can actually see that David's got a cylindrical marker. That actually is for sort of the area of being able to place your objective. Typically, you can mark anything as an objective marker, but it's really common for players to go ahead and use a neoprene mat that is pre-measured for the objective zone. For those of you who might play video games, this would be something similar to like a capture the flag, King of the Hill, Battlefield style objective zone. By placing yourself in the zone and having zone superiority, you are able to then go and capture that objective. So that's what the players are going ahead and doing right now as we kind of move into the preliminary part of the game.
Okay.
So the first two objective markers have been placed. They're now working through placing the final ones. One of the rules as well is that you can't just necessarily place an objective marker anywhere. There are specific rules on how close objective markers can be to one another, as well as being close to the battlefield edge. The battlefield edge being any of the sides of the board. David's going ahead and making sure that the objective marker that he is placing is within those rules. They must also be placed within a certain distance from each other, as well as the battlefield edge. But it does look like David has taken out both of the relay towers, which he has then promptly fixed up.
It should be 9 and 4.
And with that, we've got the final objective marker going down. Looks like he's going to actually place it right underneath the sentry gun, which is going to be pretty interesting considering that sentry gun is going to fire each shooting phase during this round, which is something we'll kind of get into once we start more of the gameplay.
Roll for first turn? Or first deployment? Conquer defender?
Yeah. Attacker
Pretty
defender.
stacked board on the left side there. Gonna be really interesting. That will probably result in a pretty hefty
I don't know what he
melee in the center board.
Deploy first.
So the players have just rolled off to decide who is going to go and deploy first. We're going to see the results of that here in 1 second.
Or cultist inside of my... I don't think I'm putting anything reserved.
To kind of go into some of the differences that we're going to be doing from traditional match play or even conventional narrative play. One thing that's kind of interesting with this league that we're doing that you won't necessarily see in other leagues is that because this is a narrative play league, we are focusing primarily on the evolving story of 40K. One of the great things about tabletop games such as Warhammer 40K is that you can tell your own stories by playing it out on the battlefield with the miniatures. Warhammer, of course, is a great game for being able to, live out the narrative that you can find in the many Black Library books and the expansive Warhammer 40K universe. But additionally, there is a lot of room for you to be able to make your own stories through custom chapters, guard regiments, night houses, all sorts of things.
30,
There is definitely a faction for everyone
15,
in this
so we
game.
have 5 inches.
That's awesome.
I want to use the large model rule and say that he fits right there. And I'm thinking you might have to use the same.
We're going to switch over to camera 3 so we can get a closer look at the battlefield there. If you look in, you can see the miniature market News Choppa, piloted by our orc pilot, one of the factions in 40K, the vicious and bloodthirsty orcs, as they go through and begin to deploy their units. One of the things that you will notice is kind of interesting is because Aiden is playing the night houses, he has very few units to deploy, so he will be done placing his units on the board fairly quickly. Kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, what we're doing a little bit differently from what you might find at something like the LVO, which happens this weekend, the Las Vegas Open, one of the big Warhammer 40K tournaments in the United States, is that with narrative play, we get to have a little bit more fun with making adjustments to rules and adding to that story. Hence the sentry towers that we've added for these players who are going to be investigating this vault. The players are seeking out what is known as an STC, which is sort of a blueprint for secret artifacts and weapons that one might find in the 40K universe lost to time. So as they make their way onto the battlefield, that is the stakes that they are fighting over, are these lost relics of the Imperium, which they are going to use later in this story as it evolves with the coming weeks.
Strategy?
I can't do strategy.
Say we've got the cultists hiding behind one of the bunkers there. Since they're behind the bunkers, they'll generally be able to be hidden away from the line of fire from those large and very powerful knight units. At this point, now Aiden has totally deployed his models. And with that, David pretty much gets free reign to deploy as he wishes going forward. Looks like he's going to be placing his Demon Prince next.
It's not a transport. It is a heavy support, so I don't have to have anyone inside of it. But I can move anyone in it. Yeah.
So if I destroy a turn one,
So I will put him in there. Should have already put that.
So you might notice that David is actually placing a model on top of the Land Raider. The Land Raider is, as David just put it, not actually is not classified as a transport model, but it can actually transport troops. So David is placing what appears to be a Chaos Sorcerer inside of the Land Raider. He can then deploy that later, keeping it protected at the beginning of the game for the time being.
I think we just go over that way. These guys are scared.
There you can see we've got a close-up of that Chaos Sorcerer. Or maybe Champion of Chaos?
Master of Execution.
Master of Executions, long on...
Inside the Land Raider, and then we have a Warpsmith next to the defiler.
Gotcha. So we've got the Master Executioner in the Land Raider, placed on top of it to denote that it is on the battlefield. It is just not on the ground on the battlefield. He also has a Warp Smith, which is sort of a warrior engineer for the Chaos, who is going to be next to that very large demon engine that's going to be marching up the board shortly as we move into the first turn.
Oh, he's just gonna chill, you know.
He's in the fly down.
He just needs to get character protected.
Put him on top.
There we go, and then we've got the Demon Prince scooting on in there.
My wings are getting in my way.
Just he fits.
There we go. It's good enough.
Okay. So roll for
First turn? Okay.
And with that, we are moving into first turn. Players are
Uno.
rolling off.
I will take it.
Alright.
Command phase.
Hey, I can still pregame move.
Oh, you can't. Where's my little pink dice? Thank you. So I start at 4 command points.
I don't think I will. But...
Here's my oaths. I'm going to tick up to 6 because I gained 2 in my command phase.
Okay. I go from 5 to 6.
Oh, we're doing every turn?
That's how ARCs works, yeah.
Okay. So do I get it? It was my command phase. So in my command phase, I'll get 2. But in yours, I'll only get 1. Because it says at the start of your command phase. Okay.
As long as you have your thing.
And that happens at the that's counted at the end of the turn. So okay. So
It looks like Aiden is going to be taking the first turn with this. So like I was kind of mentioning before, for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with the finer points of the Warhammer 40k game, the game takes place over a series of turns, and within those turns there are different phases to the game. The first phase being the command phase, where troops will receive orders and gain access to various stratagems. This is also the time in the game where players will be able to score their points. After moving from there, they will move to the movement phase, where they will be able to move. Typically in the first turn, you will go through the command phase pretty quickly. And as we can see, Aiden is moving that Helvern up to the sentry gun. After the movement phase, we go into the shooting phase, and that's where the fun begins. Models will be able to use any ranged weapons against each other, or I did actually skip a phase, which I tend to do when I play the game anyway. After the movement phase, players will go into the psychic phase. If a player has what is called a psyker unit in their army, they are able to cast psychic powers. This can be done to protect units. This can be used to attack or buff up their units or debuff enemy units. Afterwards, you move into the shooting phase, then the charge phase, where units will try to get into melee combat with one another, and ultimately ending out in the fight phase, where they will fight in melee combat versus one another. Looks like Aiden has finished up his movement there, moving his knights up the board. Definitely trying to claim both that objective and running right up to that sentry gun. You can see right there.
I can't quite see your name in front, so I can definitely put him in a better spot.
And do you know your hidden agenda?
Who's your
Who is my warlord?
Yeah, unrelated.
My demon prince.
Unrelated to the hidden agenda. I should have asked that before.
That's fine. I think you might have, and I forgot to answer.
It doesn't matter.
It really.
I want
You're gonna get there.
I want to kill him anyway.
He's gonna get into combat with you.
Not if I Overwatch, then.
I could charge with someone else as a screen unit.
Not if I
I'll charge you with a Land Raider if you don't kill it.
That's a big if. So shooting phase. Castellan's only got 1 target.
Correct.
So everything's going into the Land Raider.
Yep.
So I get to reroll 1 attack roll, or 1 hit roll and 1 wound roll with it.
Okay. Are you outside of 18 inches?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
So I'm hitting on 4s.
Okay.
So first up is Call's Wrath, the plasma cannon.
One of the things that the players are talking about a little bit during this game, like I said with narrative play, we do get to play a little bit looser with the rules for the sake of building a narrative and making the game a little more interesting. So in addition to the sentry guns, during this league, each game, players are allowed to choose a hidden agenda that they can elect to try to score at the beginning of the game. This can result
about?
in
What's that
additional
value?
league points for
that
if they're able
value?
to score that agenda.
Only 4.
Aiden is has moved up on one
T9.
objective, and as you can kind of see, he's also blocking off access to the objective that is currently in his deployment zone. We'll see how David's going to respond to that later.
6 up. 'Cause I don't have armor contempt.
Yeah, 1 at AP4.
Yeah. Okay. So 6 up. Save it.
Okay, so Volcano Lance is do 3 shots.
The Helvern has opened fire into one of the models.
These are 2 shots hitting on 4s. Both hit. Wounding you on 3s because it's strength 16.
Yeah.
I'm going to use my free reroll on this one.
Castellan. Into the Chaos Land Raider.
Into the land raider. So I'm using my reroll.
Chaos Land Raider.
Say the Knight Castellan, which is the
So it's
big
2 at AP5.
mech, is firing
say
into
damage.
David's Land
6
Raider.
plus 8.
I'm gonna die because that's 16 wounds.
No, that's whatever.
Minimum,
16 plus 7 is.
minimum 18
That's
wounds.
23 wounds.
Okay.
That's
And
an
as I have
explosion.
Do I
just been
explode?
informed, dealing a lot of
I do not.
damage. Mathematically, a lot of damage.
He can still shoot, so he needs to come out within 3 inches. This way, I should be
you
able
can
to
do
go
that?
right here. Yeah, it's wholly within. This is that's
Will
4
that push
inch.
you off the board edge, doesn't it? Or can you?
I can go. I'll spend. Is it 1 CP for emergency dismount?
Yeah.
And then on a 1 or
It
2
looks
he
like
dies.
the Chaos
Yeah,
Land
well,
Raider has
let's do it.
actually been destroyed
So 6
by
inches.
the Knight Castellan's
see if he
Volcano
dies.
Lance.
No, I want to put him down first.
Okay. And then on 1 or a 2 he dies.
With that, the Master
Yes.
of Execution that was inside is able to hop out.
We're good.
David
I'm
just
down
made
a
a
CP.
crucial roll right there. In 40k, when a vehicle is destroyed, oftentimes it has
You
the
should
potential
still
to
be able to
explode.
see
When a
the
vehicle
demon
explodes,
prints,
it deals auto wounds
but
to
he should
any
be
unit within a
protected by
certain
the cultists.
distance of the vehicle. David
The
left out
cultists
there.
are
Generally,
closer.
with explosions, they will only explode
It's not
on
eligible
6.
target. It's just the
Uh,
closest.
During a single die roll, David rolled a 5 that time.
This one down here.
Okay.
It's going to shoot your defiler.
Okay.
So 43 shots total.
Say the
And are
Helvern
you
is going to be
within
firing
18
into the
inches now?
Defiler, the
You should be.
demon engine
Yeah,
for
okay.
the Alpha
So these
Legion.
are going to be hitting on these. So 43 shots. And I do get 1 hit roll or 1 wound roll. It's not terrible. So 6,
Rolling for the number of shots currently.
8, 9.
Yep.
9. These are hitting on 3s. Only 1 miss. Only 1 miss. You're tough miss.
7, I believe.
I'm also tough 7.
Yeah,
And
T7.
I
You're strength 7.
but I'm
Yeah,
plus
so
1 to minions, so
4s to 3s.
Yep. I'll use my free wound reroll on one of those. So that is 2. Oh, that's 6 at AP.
It's gonna be my 5 up in Malt.
Yeah, it's gonna be your.
I think it's only AP2. That was out of the box. Okay, so
Does it kill it? 15?
it would. Let's do a CP to do a reroll. See if I can at
Dave's
least
going to
save
let the
it.
CP re-roll this.
I got a 5, so that's good. So he
Players in this
takes
game
12
get
damage.
what are called command points, which they're allowed to
Yep.
spend on various abilities.
Is that 2?
In
Oh, yeah.
this case, one of the abilities that any player can use once per round is the ability to re-roll a single die. This actually did save the large chaos mech, as David is able to re-roll the save to prevent the mech from
Breeze.
going down. So it is still up currently.
It does 1?
Yep, there's 1. He's at 1.
Okay.
And with that, it is down to 1 final hit point, but it is still trucking.
How many wounds are the turrets?
Oh, I got pulled up.
And toughness.
6?
Okay, so that's. He's gonna shoot the little turret.
Go off. Pop off. You may as well.
I just want to kill something.
Yeah.
I killed only 1 thing, so 43 shots.
With that, Aiden is going to fire off the final Helvern's shots into the sentry gun. Seeing what will happen here.
Only 12.
So you might have noticed there was an additional reroll there. Certain factions do have abilities where they can grant themselves rerolls in addition to the standard command point reroll. Aiden elected to use that ability during his shooting phase for this model.
It's got 8, so yes.
Does it have a save?
Does it have a save?
This 21 wounds kill it. And the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So it's AP 2. There was 7 of them. Do you guys want to roll?
Yeah, I'll roll.
So 7
7 5s?
Yep.
And with that, David's actually going to roll for the sentry gun to see if it's going to be able to save out of all of these attacks.
It takes a lot of damage.
A lot.
And I've been informed that the sentry gun does, in fact, take a lot of damage.
Do they explode?
Do they explode?
Can they explode?
Okay.
And with that, we conclude the end of the first shooting phase with one of the sentry guns being destroyed right off the bat.
Boom.
That is my turn.
Cool.
And Aiden is electing to not charge. I don't think he actually has any valid charge targets. One of the things in the game is that if a unit is outside of 12 inches, they are not eligible to be charged, regardless of any sort of movement rules within the game.
I'm going to go up to 5. I want to spend 1 CP to make the Defiler act on top bracket with blasphemous machines.
So David's just elected to use one of his command points for the Defiler, once again, that big Chaos mech.
This armature is minus
As vehicles take damage in the game of 40k, they actually tend to become less useful on the battlefield. So David was able to use one of his stratagems to bring it back up to what's known as top bracket. So even though the Defiler only has a single hit point left, it is going to operate as if it is at full maximum efficiency, which is going to be definitely very helpful at this phase of the game with David's Land Raider being taken out so early.
One more. What we got here?
20 inches between the Master of Executions, and then I got 18 inches between the Demon Prince and him. So he moves at 12 with fly, with the wings. So it was 18, it would be a 6-inch charge.
Something to also
If it
keep in
was
mind
20,
with David's
he's
Demon
a 6-inch
Prince
move.
is that those
plus the
wings
D6
are not
from
just for
Mindville.
show. That model can actually fly. What that means is that it can move through terrain
20
pieces
inches, that'd be rough.
as
36
if they
roll
weren't
12.
even there. Typically, if someone wanted to move up and around a terrain piece, they would have to measure all the way around, or all the way up and all the way down. The great thing about a flying unit in 40k is you get to ignore all of that nonsense. So David was doing a little bit of pre-measuring there just to make sure that all of the distances were going to be correct. Kind of going over with his opponent likely what is going to happen, just to keep the game moving over quickly.
Is the relic armature? That one's the one with damage right now.
What was it? Say 12 inches. Okay, because I mean, technically they roll from anywhere, but go on the inside here. Right. So 3. Awkwardly.
Because I have to hit.
He can move 6 inches. End of the movement, you gotta heal him for D3.
So it's at 3, right? Out because of the demon thing.
He's at, oh yeah, he did heal
Or
1.
he's at 1 and healed at 2.
Yes, because of the demon. Thank you. 36-inch move. Not-able prescience.
When did I use Ion Aegis? Is it too late for me to use a strat because it says opponents? So I'm going to do Ion Aegis for 2 C. So that armature gets a 4 up in boom.
That one does?
No, I'm not. Because it's not take a shot by anything. No.
So one thing the players are checking really quick. So because the game can move pretty fast, Aiden actually has a stratagem that you can use during the opponent's command phase. technically David has moved, but just all in good fairness and good sportsmanship, Aiden's going to go ahead and use that stratagem. No, he is not going to elect to use the stratagem. Again, generally, stratagems are going to be locked to specific phases of the game. So if a stratagem says this stratagem may be used during the shooting phase, generally it's going to be locked to the shooting phase. Again, though, with all the rules and kind of fast pace of the game, as long as game state hasn't changed, meaning that it hasn't affected anything that's directly on the board in that moment, most players will be fairly lenient at a level like this, where this is a fairly fun and casual league compared to something like the LVO. Now, the Las Vegas Open that is happening this weekend, we would be having a different conversation. Those players are of the highest echelon of Warhammer 40k, and they are going to be playing at a level where they will be expected to run with time clocks, chess clocks, and they will have to know their stratagems and not make those sorts of mistakes. But in the spirit of good fun here, we are a little more lenient here during most of our miniature market leagues.
So he gets 4 attacks, 5 attacks? Chaos Marines get +1.
And then we're in
Once again, I want to mention that we are, of course, being hosted by Miniature Market here. If you are interested in purchasing anything by Miniature Market, you of course go to the bit.ly link that is included in this YouTube video. Miniature Market, of course, is St. Louis's premier board gaming and board gaming supply superstore. They, of course, have the online store as well. So you can come into the store and participate in leagues such as the one that we're doing tonight. We have games all throughout the week. Or you can also purchase various goods, board games, 40K, paint, all that sort of stuff can be purchased through the website at miniaturemarket.com. Again, that link is in the video. One thing I'd also like to mention, if you like the content that we're sharing today, we would love to be able to do more, and we'd like to see that audience interaction and make sure that we are providing content to you that you would like to see. So do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video, whether you are watching the live stream live in the chat, or whether you are going to watch this at home after it's been recorded. We're looking forward to bringing you 6 weeks of Warhammer 40k, hosted by me, and next week will be hosted by Graham, Six Up Tevis as our commentator. Very excited to be bringing you this game and the rest of the league going forward. Going back to that overhead view, it looks like David's moving into the bulk of his shooting phase, kind of finalizing out a few decisions. We'll see where this kind of goes. And I'm going to take a quick break from the mic, and I will be back shortly.
7?
For mortals, my Feel No Pain does not work on mortals.
Uno.
My Feel No Pain does not work on mortals.
Oh, really?
Except for stratagem, but that's not.
That's good to know.
2 CP for a 5 up Feel No Pain against mortals, but that's not. 11 wounds left on that one.
Okay. And then I think we go to shooting phase. I need a heal over there first.
Yep. D3?
And a movement. 3?
Up to 5 on there?
Yep, up to 5. If you don't mind taking that over.
Up?
Yeah, just slide it. Thank you. And then we go to shoot. Let's go with the Havocs first. Into the one guy who can only see him, we'll shoot him.
I'm going to rotate Ion on that one.
2 are going to go over here.
Okay. I'm going to rotate Ion shields on that little number.
And then I need to see if it's my phase or your turn. I want to make it so they can't be targeted.
It's probably...
I believe it's 2 CP, unless you're within 12 inches. So if I don't kill that guy, they'll be able to be targeted.
Yeah.
It's either your shooting phase or mine. And double check. Restroom. Seal. 1 Alpha Legion infantry unit to the end of the phase. Each time an enemy model shoots, it cannot, unless it's the closest eligible target or within 12 inches.
So in
at the start of your opponent's shooting phase.
Okay.
Yeah. So in your turn, that'll be 2 CP. And hopefully I have something live. Otherwise it's not great.
And then I can make the armature.
Okay. So we're gonna start with the 1 shot.
Yep.
And do they suffer? They do not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy.
Lucky them.
Yep. All right, so here's the one shot into single guy.
Hitting on 3.
All right, David, we are back, and
explodes.
David is rolling
2
for.
shots.
Strength 9,
Looks
D7,
like
so 3s.
his demon engine is going to be firing into the armiger.
Such is life. And then the 2 shots in your Castellan.
Now firing into the Castellan.
Okay, both hits.
Looks like we've got 2 hits there.
Strength 9, so 3s. Both there. Neg 3, D6 damage.
All right, and let's see it. Let's see those 4-ups.
And we'll just spend a CP because there are Mark Slanesh to auto deal 6 damage, minus 1, 5, and then you have your field
I
of
have a
pain.
6-up field of pain. So 5 damage, ignoring it on the 6. I ignore exactly 1. Cool. 4 off the 30. Hit down.
All right, so after all that, looks like we took 4 damage to the Knight Castellan.
26.
And then we go to Senior Defiler.
It's like senior score pick all over again.
Yeah. Senior anything.
Looks like I was wrong. Looks like now we are going back to the Defiler.
So
that
starting with
large
the
chaos
Defiler
mech.
cannon, D6, strength 8, neg 2, 3 damage. So number of shots. We'll get it inside this one of these days. Wow, I'm so good. All right, 3 shots.
All that for 3 shots.
Hit on 2s because I act on top bracket, plus I have +1 to hit from the Warpsmith.
Yep.
Once again, super good.
Exploding 6.
Exploding 6s, so that makes up for my 1.
Yep. It's strength.
8.
So you might have heard that David just got what's called an exploding 6. In the game of Warhammer,
So
if
1.
with certain units, if they roll a 6 to hit,
2, 3 damage.
that hit actually becomes
neg
2 hits. Players have started referring
Very
to this
nice.
as the exploding 6 rule. So David, though
then
one of
we
his
go
shots missed, one of his
to
shots hit with a 6, which allows him
Reaper
to then
autocannon.
turn that miss right back into a hit.
So we got 4 shots, strength 7, neg 2, 1. It is heavy, so these can't explode. Hitting on 2s. No explosions. Strength 7, so 4s. So 1 at neg 2.
4 up and ball. What's the damage on it?
No.
Is it damage 2 down to damage 1?
It's just damage 1. So 5 up, 7 up. Oh, 6 up, okay. Okay.
I'm going to heal that wound next turn.
Did something.
Down to 11.
And then we got the Melt-A-Gun left on it. So 1 shot.
That's the yucky one.
We hit.
The wound.
It's a wound, so neg 4.
4 up and ball.
Okay.
The Reaper auto damage.
Can the Warpsmith see the knight?
No.
Up to you.
I don't think he can.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to tell. There's a lot of spikes everywhere.
That's fine. Then we will go to charge phase. 12-inch charge.
All right, David's going to try a 12-inch charge here into
No Overwatch?
into the Hellburn.
You sure?
How many is he?
Like maybe 5 or 6.
If he's more than 6, it's not.
He has
What's his save?
5 wounds and a 3-up save, no invul.
I'm not gonna. There's no point. Because you're charging the armature, right?
Yeah.
So I have to sink 2 shots, wound, and you have to fail to save on both.
All right, let's see it. Boxcars.
Not quite.
Not quite.
I get a CP reroll?
No. So we'll go with the Demon Prince next into the Armiger.
Not gonna Overwatch there either.
All right. And then this is a 6-inch charge.
All right, here comes the 6-inch charge from the Demon
Got
Prince.
exactly.
And he succeeds.
And then we're going to go Defiler.
I will be Overwatching you.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, so
guess.
Aiden's going to elect to Overwatch
3
in this.
shots.
Once per
2 of those.
charge phase, a faction can elect to spend 1
6,
CP for the
7,
Overwatch stratagem. This
9,
allows
yep.
them to shoot, even though it's not the shooting phase, but there is a catch.
Is it 1
Their attacks will only hit if they roll a 6. So as he is charging his Defiler, that big mech into the
Each time it's
Armiger,
selected to shoot
or
or
the
So
Hellburn,
I get to roll 1 hit roll here.
Okay.
he is going to see if he can take it down before it can reach him.
5 wounds.
1 hit. I'll use my free reroll.
We got 1
Is it
hit
hit
out of
or
that.
wound or hit and wound?
Hit or. And I'm not a CP reroll. So wounding you on a 3.
Oh, you're +1, so 3, yep.
Fails to wound.
Okay.
I'm not going to see.
And no wound. So
Charge.
we're going to see, does it charge?
6 inches should be it.
Yep.
Yeah, alright.
It does.
You want us to slide him in there for me?
How did the knee?
However it needs to.
And here's where we're gonna see the game get very interesting. Obviously, that initial opening volley,
They just
taking
do
out
that
the Land
sometimes.
Raider was a pretty devastating hit. But David is going to get that melee alpha strike. Curtis or Aiden's army right now is conventionally a pretty, the way he's got it set up, it is pretty much a shooting-based army. So getting into melee combat is not necessarily ideal for this situation. So he's got both that melee powerhouse in the Demon Prince as well as his Demon Engine there charging in. Generally what will happen is when someone, whoever's turn it is and they make the charge, they will get to fight first under most circumstances. Now, there are rules in the game that do allow you to interrupt and fight outside of sequence to counterattack or hope mitigate damage in that sort of way. So we're going to see how this fight phase plays out because this game is about to get a lot more interesting.
Oh, you auto wound? Okay, so I'm going to do the wound rolls of 1 to 3 fail on this armature. Survivors
Is this the transhuman over here?
Yes.
Okay.
Because if you're auto wounding, there's no point.
That's only on him, not there.
Yeah, it's only on this
And
one.
Aiden's electing to use one of his stratagems.
Alright, so here's the 5 claws.
I don't know what his stratagem is called, but a lot of people colloquially know it as transhuman physiology, which is a very common Space Marine stratagem. We'll see Space Marines later on in this series.
No exploding sixes.
Essentially, it makes them a lot harder to kill by making certain rules
just one.
auto-fail.
AP
3. AP 3 D6.
6 up. Nope.
So D6. You get 4 damage.
Becomes 3 damage. Because it's -1 damage, and then I get 6 up feel no pain. Make 1, so 2 damage on him.
Cool.
And with that, 2 damage goes into
was
the
definitely worth it.
Hellburn.
And then we get the 3 additional with the Scourge.
Because I think I can.
2, 4s. Just 1, -2, 2.
5 up. He's good.
Alright.
And the armadillo is probably gonna die.
And then do you want to interrupt or not?
He doesn't have a melee weapon.
So then we got...
Like I was mentioning before, sometimes you can actually spend CP to interrupt the phase. Generally what would happen is everyone who charges will fight, then everyone who was charged will fight, and then from then on out, there are various rules
So you
that
got
kind
6
of
attacks with the sword. We'll have
dictate
1
in
additional
what
with
order
the
units
now.
will fight. Aiden had the opportunity there, if he wanted
So these
to
are
elect
2s,
his
and as long as I hit, I
Hellburn
roll.
to fight, even though it was not returned. Given the state of the game, given that there's only
So
2
there's
combats
4
going on,
at
and
neg
given
3,
that
3.
the Hellburn does not actually have a melee weapon, it would not be necessarily the wisest use of a CP.
And no feel no pain on
So
it.
definitely agree with that choice there.
Down to 5.
Then we got the 1 claw. Hits. And then I think it's strength 7 because it should be strength him.
So wounding on a 4.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's -1, 2 damage. Doesn't matter because it doesn't win. I hit. No, that's just. Oh, I need a roll for his leadership first. Make sure I can use the weapons. We're good there.
Okay. Because of the whatever demonic.
Yeah, I guess demonic blade.
I'm surprised none of my armatures done. Really? Okay. So I'm gonna fight back with that little goober.
Yep.
Right, and with that, the Hellburn that is fighting Demon Engine is going to fight back.
Behind puts him in mid bracket or on top bracket, so he's hitting on 3s. Is it each time I shoot or fight, I believe?
I believe that's what you said earlier.
Each time. So I get my free reroll, or what's your toughness?
7.
I'm using
So
free reroll.
winning on
Winning on 5s.
5s?
Strike 6.
Okay.
On 5s. I use the free reroll. 1 wound, 18 nothing.
Right, 1 wound, and let's see it.
Got it.
Looks like he saves out.
4 into the Demon Prince. These are middle bracket, so hitting on 4s.
4 attacks now going into that Demon Prince, hitting on 4s.
6.
6, so I'm gonna use my wound reroll.
Strength 6 though, because he's -1 to wound if you match because of the marker nurdle.
So 5s. Yeah, I'll use the reroll. Nope. Just 1. Fine.
Okay.
Thought I did not.
With that,
command
we move into the
phase,
morale
you
phase,
have
which
obstacle.
neither
So
player
you
will
hold
have to
one.
worry about this
I
time.
hold 2.
One thing that can happen
get,
is if
you
a
get 5 or
particular
10.
unit takes a particularly devastating loss in the game, there's a chance that some of the
Yeah, I think you
units
get 5.
within it will run away. There was no circumstance in this particular round in which that would
it's on the
activate, so they're
beginning
going to be
of
able to
our
go straight into turn 2.
Because I'm Mechanicus, all my
And I
models
will
are gonna heal.
return
You're right,
in
it is 10 points.
just
Okay, so we get
one
10.
moment.
So everything's gonna heal 1. So this Armiger is back up to 10. Takes that one out of the bottom, or no, keeps it in the middle bracket. Can I kill that Demon Prince in the shooting phase? Probably not. And the Castellan's gonna heal. 2, however many that is. So this Armor and the movement, or no. I'm gonna fall back with that Armiger.
Why would you do that? No, why would you do that?
I like fall back onto a subjective. He was had 5. Can I fall back onto a subjective, or is everything in
You go to the side of it. You can go like through there. You can't go on the terrain pieces unless you have a rule that where you go through
And
it.
we're back.
I thought your big knights moved
So
through
one of
it.
the things that you'll actually find
move to the big knight
with
first,
this is that this is only one game in a much larger league. We actually have 24 players, a record for our 40K leagues, participating in this ongoing narrative. So we actually have our shop camera going around. You can see all the other games happening tonight all over the store, playing out this exact scenario. Granted, different people are playing different armies, so we'll have different outcomes. What will happen is as the scores are tallied, this will shape the ongoing story that the players are taking part in. If you look to the far table on the left, you'll actually see Rich and Mike, who I believe will be featured on a later stream. They're right now playing Necrons versus Salamanders.
shooting time?
So start of the shooting phase. I'll do the 2 CP.
Nothing can hit him. I can't see him with that.
He can see
He
it.
fell back.
Can't fall back and shoot.
Only Titanics.
Okay.
So there's no. Okay.
I won't do that. Fine. Force my hand.
So I'm gonna do the silly mortal wound
And you got
strategy.
your CP for this turn, correct?
Oh, I go up to 7. Yep. Then I'm no, because I didn't hold more than you. And I didn't
So
switch
one thing
to
that you can see is with the Demon Prince being locked up in melee with the Armiger, Aiden has elected to actually fall back. When a unit falls back, they are unable to shoot or charge under most circumstances.
So every wound of 6 does
One unit that does not actually have to abide by that rule is actually in Aiden's army, and that is that giant Knight Castellan. That unit is what is known as a Titanic unit. Titanic units do not have to follow the same fallback rules that other units do because they are just too darn big.
everything else into the Master of Executions.
Alright.
So first up's a volcano cannon, D3 shots into your Demon Prince.
He's going to shoot that massive volcano cannon into the Demon
are
Prince,
we
and we're just going to kind of see what happens.
Yes. Yes, because you're getting the -1 to hit, right?
Yeah.
So these are going to be hitting on a 3.
It's like right outside of it.
I'm going to use my free reroll. No.
This is the volcano cannon. We're gonna hit.
I don't need to use my free reroll because I
So
killed
he doesn't get the minuses.
So then after seeing this result, I get to use my once per game and make it a 6.
Okay.
So I'm going to make that a 6.
Okay.
So you take D6 plus 8 mortals.
Okay.
So you take 13 mortal wounds on your Demon Prince.
Ooh, with that, the Demon Prince goes down. Aiden electing to use one of his abilities to deal mortal wounds, which are different than other wounds because they go through pretty much regardless of what the armor or invulnerable or shield or anything like that. A mortal wound will go through pretty much regardless.
So that's 11 shots.
Okay.
Taking down
6,
the Demon
7,
Prince.
8, 9, 10, 11, hitting on 4s. There's 3 mortal. Oh no, these are hitting on 4s, right? Because you're -1 to hit.
Yes.
Hitting on 4s. That's a lot. And I will use. No.
Is that just one gun or every gun you shoot for the
Every
mortals?
for the rest of the phase. I mean, I'll double check.
I think you're right, but I don't know.
It is calculated targeting. Until the end of the phase, each time that model makes a range attack on an unmodified wound roll of 6, That attack inflicts a number of mortal wounds on the target equal to the damage characteristic of the attack and the attack sequence ends. Cool. So mortals instead of normal damage.
Yep.
So the rules that we were just clarifying there, Aiden pulled one of his stratagem cards, making sure that the unit that is currently attacking does in fact continue inflicting mortal wounds even after it has initially shot that demon prince, just to make sure that that was the intent of the rules. Both players have agreed that that is in fact
So 6s.
the way the rules are written and intended.
He's dead?
He's dead. So I killed
And with that, the Master of Execution goes down.
a lot. And then Telvern can shoot on gauge because he's a vehicle.
Yep.
Just -1 to hit.
Because it's a heavy gun.
Yep. So
Now,
43
typically one
shots.
wouldn't be able to shoot while in melee, but the Hellburn does have a special rule where it is able to shoot while in melee combat. Granted, at a somewhat diminished efficiency, but when given the choice of either shooting in melee or not shooting at all, I think most players would rightly elect to take the shot anyway.
And these are not going to be +1 to win against these. These didn't get the
The bondsman.
yeah.
And we've got the rolls.
That's not horrible. So these are winning on 4s.
Ooh, looks
Those
like a
were
pretty
minus
hot
one to hit.
roll there.
Yeah. I took out all 3s. So winning on 4s.
Yeah, strength 7 to 7.
Yep, I'm going to reroll one of those. So that, at AP2. 5 at AP2.
Okay.
Take them all.
5 up invulns. We save 1.
So that does
12.
12 damage.
He's dead.
Does it explode?
And let's see, does it explode?
Nope.
No explosion.
Kills it though. Charge phase?
Okay.
He's going to check and see if he has any valid charge targets.
Just to
It
the
looks like
front
the
of
only
my
one that
base.
he's got
Front of your
is
base, in
that
front of mine.
warp
8-inch
smith.
charge?
You tell me. I can't see.
Okay. So I'm gonna try to charge that Armiger into your dude.
Warp smith.
Warp smith.
And let's see it.
That's a 9.
Got it.
9-inch, he got it.
He's gonna weave his way in, and then I believe I have a strat for this. I'm down to 4 CP.
And that will take Aiden down to 4 CP, which he has marked on that
spent-
D20
I
on the
spent
top
4,
of
so
the
you're at
card.
2.
Yeah, you're 2.
Yes.
Or is that 2 CP? Sorry.
Exacting charge. I roll 46s, and each one that beats your toughness or equals it, you take a mortal.
T4.
So every 4 up, you take a mortal,
Okay.
and then on a 6, you take 2. So that takes me down to 1 CP. So 46.
With that, Aiden is down to his last CP.
So do 2 mortal wounds.
All right.
2 mortals going into the warp smith as he charges in using a stratagem that allows him to deal mortals before the fight phase even begins.
I'll have 2 ups, but
Give it to him.
I have a 2 up.
And
We'll
then
see
you're
what
probably
happens.
gonna beat him to death in melee.
Maybe.
If I just auto-
I got a thunderhammer, some tendrils, so.
If I do a single,
Oh yeah, I mean you auto exploded.
I can on 1 CP. If you don't do it for me, which I would very much appreciate. So these are 4 hitting on 3s. What's your toughness? I'm gonna use one of my free rerolls here.
Okay.
I'll hit a 3 hit, winning on 3s. It's 6 into 4. 2 on your armor save.
2s. Fail 1.
So do some damage. Takes you down to 2.
Yep.
Right, the warp smith takes 1 damage, which now it is going to fight back.
All right. Thunderhammer.
You're gonna be wounding me on a 3, right?
With just the thunderhammer,
Strength 8.
and then he also has some mecha tendril. 4 additional mecha tendrils after that. So
How much do
we have 5 attacks on thunderhammers on 4s. Neg 2, 3 damage.
Hitting on 2s.
Hitting on 4s.
Hitting on 4s.
Yeah, he's 3 and they're -1.
I'm gonna do the I'm gonna do the Survivors of Strife strat, so
Okay.
you only win them on 4s for my last CP.
Transhuman.
Right, he's used his last CP to try to use that transhuman-like stratagem, which
on
will make that
4s.
Armiger much tougher to kill.
I'll take it.
So 2,
AP3?
neg 2, 3 damage.
AP2? So 5 up. I make exactly 0.
So there's 6.
Takes me
6
down to 4.
damage
And
going
you got your
into the
6 up field
Armiger.
of pain.
I do have a 6 up.
Oh, first we've got to
And I
feel no
get 4
pain.
more after this.
So in addition to your typical armor saves, you have what's called an invulnerable save and a feel no pain. Those take place after
four
the
more
initial
attacks,
armor
strength 4,
save.
no
So
AP,
if something
1
would
damage.
normally beat an armor save,
So these are
essentially it
3s.
goes to, well, it'll go
And
to
then these
whatever
are
is better, the armor save or
5s.
the invuln. And then if it does
So
beat
1
the armor save
at
for
no
each
AP.
point of damage that's dealt, it will then go to the feel no pain.
And he didn't have the -1 damage? Okay, that was the only one he bondsman thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's no longer under the bond, and that one doesn't have it either because he's a normal dude.
Gotcha.
That is my turn.
And with that, we are at the
I
end of
don't hold
Aiden's
any
turn,
points,
moving
so I don't
into
get any
David's
points.
second turn.
I have to go chase this cultist down.
Yeah. Well, if I don't get him, you have a line of sight onto them. Let's see.
And I go up to 1 CP, right? And you go up.
Yeah, we both go up 1.
Sorry, going into David's
No, the armature wasn't at 4.
third.
He was at 5, right?
How close do you have to be to turrets to turn 2? Bottom of 2.
Bottom of 2, David's second turn.
Right? Because he got charged by the demon prince. He was at 5 wounds.
Yeah, and he healed 1. Yeah.
And he healed 1 in my command phase, yeah. And also dies when I was moving in.
Because he only took 6, right?
Yeah.
And he saved 1, so it's 5.
Oh, I started 13 wounds anyway on them, so I'd be at 6.
7.
Healed to 7.
Yeah.
So I'm at 7 on them, and then I'm at 6 on this armature.
Okay.
Keep bringing them at 12 wounds in my command case.
How close do you have to be to a turret to be able to use it?
Isn't autumn?
Because it's an action to use it, right?
No, it activates on
Oh. Oh, okay. At the start of the turn or every turn? Oh, okay. Well, let's...
quick point of clarification that we missed at the beginning of the game. Too late to call it back now, but typically the way that the turrets were going to work in this game type is at the beginning of each shooting
command
phase,
I don't have anything I can do.
the turret was going to activate to
go to
shoot
movement phase.
literally anyone who was within 12 inches of it, depending on a dice roll. So the turret would activate, target a unit. The player would roll a d6 on a 5 or a 6. That turret would then fire 6 laser shots at whatever, but we were moving so quick with the game that we actually have not been using the turret rules. Hopefully starting next round we will begin to use them again.
I think the mortal wound thing was worth the 4 CP.
Once again, I'd like to remind everybody to like, comment, and subscribe if you like the content that we're bringing you. Miniature Market is going to be bringing streaming content for a very large plethora of games, including Warhammer 40,000, Marvel Crisis Protocol, the various Star Wars games from X-Wing, Legion, and Armada, as well as various other games that we will be bringing to you through the various live streams that we will be hosting here at the Miniature Market YouTube channel. Next week, we will have another game that I will talk about shortly that will be hosted by Graham Tevis. We'll be doing our commentary for that game. Once again, it will be a 1,000-point game using the narrative rules with, once again, another twist on the typical narrative play style.
It's just a 2-up.
So he's just tanky.
He's just a cool guy.
He's
He's just here giving my vehicles +1 to hit. All these vehicles.
You can get my armatures +1, and I'll take it.
So, shooting phase, we're going to have the Havoc shoot the one guy here.
I'm not going to rotate on him.
Alright, so we get 1 shot. We hit on a 3. Wound you on a 3. So we wound you. So 1 neg 3.
5 up and gold. I fail it.
Okay, and then we'll do our CP to max 6 it.
Yep. So I'm going to take 6 damage.
Yep.
So 6 up, feel no pain, have to make at least 1. And I make 3.
Okay.
So just 3 damage.
3 damage goes through, but it's not enough to take down the Hellburn.
Go. You have 1 CP. Yeah. Charges.
Overwatch.
Yup.
Just gotta hit you once. 43 shots. 3, 5.
Aiden is electing to use his last CP to try for one final Overwatch, as David is going to try to charge the Warpsmith back into the Helvern.
Hit twice.
Looks like he's got 2 hits. We'll see if this is going to pan out.
3.
Yep.
Wounding on 3s.
1 wound at 82.
1 wound.
We got a 4 up.
Let's see it. 4 up.
We got a CP reroll.
CP reroll.
All right, there we go. Let's hope we can make this charge.
He saves out. Let's see if he makes the charge.
I think you make it.
It's close.
You should auto-explode my knight for me.
That'd be funny.
I probably should just auto. Oh, that's what I have a stubborn.
And with that, the Warpsmith is able
Go
to get back into combat,
fight, so 5
allowing
attacks.
it to get that first attack on the charge. We're going to see if it's going to be
Fours,
able to
then
finish off
4,
that Helvern, which
8
will
on
once again
threes.
make this game very interesting, as it'll
And then
pretty
these are
be a
strength
fairly
8s, 3s.
dead even game.
2, neg 2, 3 damage. You have 3 left. Let's do a CP to reroll one of these.
Aiden's going to spend a CP to reroll one of
Nope.
these.
All right.
So 6 up. Oh no, 5 up. He's dead anyway.
Okay.
Does he explode?
Do you not use your female pain against it?
I do get my fill. Okay.
So 6 damage.
3 dice. Yep.
All right, so we've got the Feel No Pain,
I
which
make
are going to be
2.
the last.
So he's down to 1.
Oh, 1 saved and 1 went through. On the 2
Saved
attack.
it. Oh, is it just damage?
1 attack is 3
Is it damage
damage.
2 or damage 3?
Did you save on? It's damage 3. Did you save on both the attacks or one of the
I
attacks?
saved 1 attack and then made 2 field points. So I took 1.
Okay, so you saved 1 and failed 1 on the attack, 2 attacks.
Yes. So I took. I should,
Okay.
should be at 2 wounds. Right?
No, you only took 1 damage if you saved 2.
Yes. So
Yeah.
lay down to 2.
All right, so here's the tendrils on 3s. All of them, and then on 5s, just 1.
1, AP nothing.
Yep.
3 up. Makes it.
Okay.
I get to fight back. Hitting on a 5. Because I'm on a
And with that, the Warpsmith has failed to actually kill the Helvern, so it is going to fight back. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
Nothing happens.
Nothing.
So that
They are still locked up in
Good
combat.
talk.
my command phase.
Yeah.
So I hold 2
Gain your CP.
and I hold more. And I go up to 1 CP because I'm no, actually I hold more than you, so I'd be honored again.
Yeah.
So I would go up to. And I destroyed 2 units, so I would get 2 honor points actually. So honor wise, I'm at 2. Yep. Okay. Hand phase. Still have goobers. Still not within each other. I'm gonna move 12 inches to be on this objective and see the Warpsmith.
All right, Aiden's going to move that other Helvern in to try to claim that objective.
And I would also heal on all of them.
How many wounds do you have? 2?
3 now.
3 now? Okay.
I'm gonna fall back a bit.
Also elects to fall back with the Helvern that is in melee.
How much movement do you have with that?
We'll see
Does it bracket?
what
Should.
comes
It
of
brackets
that.
to 8.
Yeah. So just move 4 inches forward.
So I didn't move the full 12 anyway.
Okay.
So it's gonna move. Well, Castellan's gonna heal up to 24. Or no, 28.
Is that with the 2?
That's what?
With the 2 extra?
Yeah, with the 2 extra wounds. It started at 30.
Okay.
It lost 4 total.
It's 2 turns without taking 1 damage. Yep.
Castella moves 8. So it's gonna move like here. So this one fell back. I can see your Warpsmith around the corner. Yes.
Okay.
Shooting. How does the turret work?
It shoots every eligible target in 12 inches, right?
And it's like on a 5 up it. Okay. So this armature on a 5
Going
up.
to the third phase, we are actually going to
Alright, so
activate
it's a heavy
the
6,
final
strength
remaining
3,
sentry
no
gun.
AP.
So this
At the beginning of the
armature
shooting phase, they will go and
does not
see
get
who
shot.
it is going to
This
elect to shoot,
armature
targeting every unit
does
within
get
12
shot.
inches. So it is actually going to fire
Should I just roll this?
at the Helvern. It's going to get 6 shots, hitting on 4s.
These are wounding me on a 6 because it's 3 into.
I'm in 12. I can also get shot.
Okay, so this is 3 and this is 7, so we're gonna be on 6s. 1 wound enemy.
Sentry gun deals 1
So
wound.
no
Let's see if the
APs.
armor save will shrug it.
I save it.
And it saves.
Do you want to roll for your Warsmith? They can't see it on those.
5 or 6, he gets hit.
Shoots
Nope.
the Warpsmith, and it does not.
So the Hellburner is going to shoot your Warsmith.
The Helverin that didn't fall back is going to go ahead and shoot the
And
Warpsmith.
-1 of whatever your bracket it is. Because it's heavy.
Which one?
Your gun is
Oh yeah,
heavy.
this one would have been hitting on 6s.
Yeah. He could have.
Yeah, so this one's going to shoot you 2d3 shot or 4d3 shots. Pretty good. 3, 5, 6, 7. These are going to be hitting on 3s because I'm top bracket. And I get
Kind of give you a preview of next week. Next week we're going to have Dave Henderson versus Billy Hyde featured on the stream, playing Space Marines versus the Thousand Suns. Dave Henderson is going to be bringing his Thousand Suns army, which is actually primarily going to be composed of demons from last I talked to him. Billy Hyde, of course, going to be bringing the Noble Space Marines of the Imperium. A pretty classic matchup right there. Chaos versus Space Marine, Law versus Chaos, all of that. Looking forward to that. Give you a quick preview of next week's game type as well. A little bit about the story as we will move forward into the second week.
CP to see if he
Let me
lives.
just pull up really quick.
He lives. He lives. He lives. He dies.
Following the events that will take place here during this STC Vault raid, the players will use everything that they have gained to continue to find more information about a mysterious and ancient weapon that they have discovered a template for within the vault. They will then continue to search for the parts and answers resulting in these weapons.
Yes.
In addition to that, we are looking at probably having a stream featuring the new Warhammer 40k boarding action rules, which can be found in the new Arcs of Omen Abaddon book.
11.
For those of you who don't know,
Try it.
the boarding action rules are close quarters games that take place inside of massive starships within the 40k universe. Rather than having an open field of combat like this, the game type instead focuses on close, tight corridors and small elite teams moving through the corridors of the Space Hulks and the battle barges of the Warhammer 40k universe. Within that game type, there are unique rules such as being able to jettison your opponents out of airlocks, being one of my favorite rules that one can have depending on the scenario. We're hoping to have one of our featured games use that rule set during this league, as our players, starting in week 2, will be able to play one game of boarding actions rather than the scheduled game for the week. Again, just one other way that we try to have a little bit of that fun narrative fluff in our narrative leagues here at Miniature Market.
So he's got 3 inches to go up and 2 inches over. I've been using 5 the whole time, so if they do, I've been shorthanding myself. Yeah, but they got heavy guns.
That's why they don't get the heavy weapon.
No, that's just because they're, cool.
Oh, okay.
These guys are mad lads.
They have a repulsor platform.
They don't care. Yeah, basically. Yeah. I just need them to be hardwired for hatred and reroll their own ones as well. All right, so all of them should have shots. But we got to start with the turret first.
I'll do turret into my farthest one.
Okay.
Turret into that guy. Turret into this armature.
And then turret into my guys. Nope.
Okay.
All right.
Which one are you shooting?
I
think 3 of them?
think
I don't know if that. Maybe
I think can only see this guy, and then those 3 can see that guy. So that's how I'll do the shots. So 1 here and then 3 over there.
Okay. I'm going to.
With that, it looks like David's lining up his shots with his Havocs, trying to take down that wounded armature.
Okay.
So CP there. So you're wounding on 4s, and I have a 4 up and board.
Okay.
Once again, I'd like to remind everyone on the stream, if you are enjoying what you're seeing and you want to see more content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Miniature Market YouTube page. And definitely, if you are feeling so inclined, go ahead and give us a share on your social medias. We would love to be able to bring more people into the Warhammer 40k community, whether they are a lurker and are interested in just watching the games and learning a little bit about the lore, or if they're a seasoned player who wants to find a way to get more involved. We'll be continuing to have these streams throughout our narrative leagues and going forward with the Miniature Market community.
No, it's just a Stardy strategy. Oh, it's only against a Stardy, so never mind. I could 2 CP and have +1 to wound.
You can do 1 CP and reroll wounds.
So I can do 2 CP, wound you on 2s, but you're already transhuming one of them, so there's no point.
Yeah,
So here's the 1 into the front guy that fails, and here's the 3 into the back guy. We got 1, 2, so 1 fail. How many wounds on him? 8. Yeah, so we'll save. And 4s. 2 wounds.
2 4 up and bones. I'm gonna CP reroll one of those.
Yep.
Why not? No, both go through.
So we'll auto 6 one of them.
6 plus D6. Roll a 1. That'd be really nice if you rolled a 1 here.
5. So we got 11 damage. And you got 6s.
6 of feel no pain, go. 7, 8, 11. Right? I can't count.
That's alright.
11 6-ups. I made 3 of them. If
I made
that's,
4 of them.
I made 4. That is exactly 8. He's dead. Okay, does he explode? Are you gonna make him explode?
Are you gonna make him explode?
I don't have CP.
You had to decide before I did.
I don't have CP.
I'll make him explode. I'll do 2 CP and make him explode.
Evil Immortals. I think it's just like a flat radius explosion. 6 inches. 3 on my Helverin. 1. Woo!
And you're out of CP? Okay.
I'm gonna regain.
I want to charge you.
Oh no!
There's 1. There's 2. We got 11-inch charge.
Seems like you made it.
I'm pretty sure I did. Gotta make sure the guy who's on top of the building is gonna be okay.
Is he gonna be able to end in unit coherence? If he moves 11 inches.
Yeah, he should. We have 5 to get across, 3 down is 8, so he can go outside the building another 3 inches with the 11-inch. He can end right here. Those guys can just all the way around and run all the way around.
He's not gonna be able to auto explode.
I'm also not rerolling cards, so we'll see how it goes. I spent my 2 CP to make you explode.
Surging on 3s.
Yes, unless it's 1 CP, I don't know. Honestly, let me look it up.
So if I touch that train with my Costello, I can shoot through it, right? I'm scaring
Or you could see over it and then be able to shoot. Yeah, as long as you can draw a line of sight from your guy.
But I can
And we're back.
Yes. Because there's nothing on the bottom and it's not first floor watch line of sight.
For those of you watching, we're actually going to be adding this to the video description here in a second. Going to be posting it in the chat as well. If you're interested in getting involved in the Miniature Market 40k community, or if you'd like to interact with me or any of the other hosts who will be doing the commentary for the streams, we are going to be adding a link to the Adeptus St. Louis Discord page. Adeptus St. Louis is not owned by Miniature Market, but Miniature Market has been gracious to host all of the Adeptus St. Louis events. We have a thriving community of over 100 local St. Louis 40k players. So if you're looking for a game, looking to buy, sell, or trade, or just wanting to get involved in the community, definitely feel free to jump on that Discord. Again, there will be a link in the chat and the description. For those of you who are interested, you'll be able to interact with me. My Discord handle is Cromwell. You will see me on the page.
These will be exploding.
Oh, they are?
Because it's turn 3. And then I have a marker Slanesh. I think gives me an additional AP.
Marcus Slash do all that?
Let's see.
I mark the coins.
I always fight first, and if I have the icon keyword, I get a +1 to hit. I'd have to take the icon to have the icon keyword. Alright, so
All right, checking a couple more rules as
exploding.
David is going into some fighting. I believe this Havoc's. Ooh, lots of 6s in there.
Are these all AP nothing damage ones?
I should have done these separately because the chain swords. Alright, let's redo this.
We're going to have a reroll. There are a couple different weapons within that squad, so the dice do need to be rolled separately. So we're going to do a
So blue
reroll on
ones are
that.
chain swords, and then we got
First,
the
we're going in
3,
with the chain
3,
swords.
3, and 3. Alright, let's do this again. 3s, exploding 6s.
Hitting on 3s with exploding 6s for the chain swords.
Everything. Alright, so 1, 2, and then 1 on the chain sword. So pull out 1s and 2s.
I'll take it.
We got the 1 explosion there, and the 2 explosions there.
Because you're winning me on 5s.
I don't have CP. Yep.
Wounded on 5s.
So we got. Yeah, so those have 1 AP, and then this has no AP.
So 3 at AP nothing.
No. 3 with AP 1,
Oh, 3 at AP 1.
because that's a chain sword, and 1 with no AP.
4
That's a
ups,
punch.
Make 2 of them. Is it damage 1?
Yeah.
And then this one.
2 go through. Let's see those. Feel no pains.
And then 6 up, feel no pain for the one I failed. He takes 1 wound. Down to 1.
1 goes through. The Armiger lives, but with 1 hit point.
4 attacks, hitting you on 5.
And I'm just going to consolidate.
Can you consolidate if you didn't?
I can base you, or you pile in, then you fight, then you consolidate.
You can't consolidate if you didn't.
It doesn't matter if I'm killing, you just pile in. You pile in, then you fight, and then you consolidate. Because you're still getting close to the enemy, I still move 3 inches closer to the base.
Okay.
So basically I'm just moving closer to you to base.
So you have to move closer to that.
Yes. I just had to end my move closer to you. Yes, you can still shoot into me.
I can survive. I can do the calculated targeting on you.
Yeah.
Again. But I'm hitting you on 6. I'm hitting you on 6s. So 4 attacks, hitting on 5s. Moving you on 3s.
They're T5. Yes, what's the 3?
Is it 4?
And they're T5.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're weird.
I'll do the free reroll on that one. 2 wounds, AP nothing.
Okay, so 2 3s. Fail them both.
1 damage each.
1 dead.
With that, one of the Havocs goes down.
So they did nothing and got stomped on.
They did something. You got at least the damage in. We'll kill this guy.
Okay. So is that my command?
Definitely a rough trade there.
Should only be 2 wounds. Yeah, 2 wounds. T5. Alright.
I go?
Yep.
So I'm gonna go up to 2 CP. I'm only gonna gain
Get 1 CP.
because I hold 1 and I hold more. Because they are not upset, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm gonna top Machine Spirit the Surgeon on him for 1 CP to full profile. So he's down to 1. I'm down
So you
to
might have heard from the stream the term OPSEC. So OPSEC is sort of a shorthand term. There are certain models in the game that get priority when it comes to taking objectives. If a model has what is known by most people as the OPSEC rule, it means that if they are standing on an objective and there's another model that would normally contest it, they will get priority. So the Havoc units do not actually have the OPSEC rule. Oh, and now the Castellan is moving, creeping around that corner, very sneaky-like, to sneak up on the hiding cultists. Oh, woe to those cultists.
shooting time. I could fall out of them before I shoot.
I could 1 CP try to cut you down
Do a mortal wound
for every 6 I roll.
for 4 dice, right?
Yeah.
I'll fall back. You can do the cut down thing. Oh, you do it before I fall. Before I move, right?
I would do it before, yeah.
Are you gonna do it?
Sure, why not?
All right, David's going to spend some CP to use the cut them down rule.
5-5. No, no sixes.
Is that what it
No
auto-exploded?
sixes.
Killed it.
Using the cut them down rule, essentially, when a unit tries to fall back, the player who is locked up in combat with them can attempt to to force some mortal wounds through. For each model they are in melee with, they are able to roll a d6. On a 6-up, a mortal wound is dealt. Once again, for those of you who don't know or remember earlier in the chat, I talked about, or in the feed, I talked about mortal wounds earlier. Mortal wounds, unlike normal wounds, cannot be saved out of under normal circumstances. So had that worked out, that would have been a really easy way to take down that armiger, but no sixes, so no mortals.
I will laugh.
Only one hit. Same as,
It's not dying to a turret.
Only on a 6. So Castellan's going to do Volcano Cannon and the Plasma Decimator and the missile into them.
Okay.
Castellan's going to fire its big guns into the Havocs
So they'll be -1 to hit.
and the little guns into the cultists.
And they're doing 2 auto cannons.
With that, it looks like we are entering the end game for this game. Let's see how it all wraps up.
6 inches.
I don't think they get the Legion trait because of cultists.
No, the
Oh,
do
for
an
the
extra.
okay.
They can to do D6 plus 2.
Yeah, I don't think that matters.
Okay. So I'll do the into them first.
Okay.
Volcano Cannon's got 3 shots. 3 shots. Hitting on 4s. Wounding on 2s. I'm not.
You don't wanna
I'm just. I won't
AP 5.
So it's 2 at AP. I'll do a free reroll. So that's 3 at AP 5.
Okay.
Let's see what the damage is.
Doesn't matter.
6, 9, 11 plus 24. 35 damage into the.
Big damage from that volcano cannon into those Havocs.
We're gonna kill our
35.
sergeant.
35 damage into your reavers.
Oh, 3. That's right. I need 1 more.
Yep. And then 2d6 shots from the plasma gun. Only 2.
Okay.
Because I'm hitting on 4s.
I like my odds.
Both of them miss.
Good odds.
I'll CP reroll one of those.
Okay.
What do you want a 2?
Did you need a CP? Did you already use your hit reroll this turn? Or a hit or
CP
win?
reroll?
Yeah, no, but
No,
did,
the reroll's built into my code. I get 1 hit roll.
As we
Yeah,
kind of
did
move
you
into the
use it,
final
or do you
phases
wanna
of this
use
game,
it?
I'd like to remind
Okay.
everyone one last time about Miniature Market. Obviously, if you're here on the YouTube channel, you have some familiarity with the Miniature Market stores. They are located here in St. Louis, one off Manchester Road and the other in the St. Peters area off of Cave Springs. Miniature Market is, of course, St. Louis's premier board game supplier, where you will be able to purchase games such as Warhammer 40K, the various books, models, and paints to assemble your models. And if you can't find something in the local stores, then you will be able to buy them online through the Miniature Market website. Miniature Market ships worldwide and pretty much has almost anything you can imagine as far as it is related to the board game and
can't die.
board gaming, wargaming, painting, and hobby communities.
I can charge. Yep, 8 shots hitting
If you're interested in purchasing anything that you see on the board tonight, such as the massive Knight Castellan, which Aiden is playing, then you can go to the Miniature Market website through the bit.ly link that is found in the description of this video.
I'm T3.
Oh yeah. And it is strength 7. So 3 at AP1.
Okay, so dead,
The rest of
dead, dead.
flat 2 damage.
Another detail to kind of mention about some of the finer rules of the Warhammer 40K game. Just because a player actually loses all of their models does not necessarily mean that they lose the game. The game is scored in points.
You want a 2.
At the end of the game, the points will be tallied up, and that will actually decide who is the winner of the game.
No, you got it.
So once we get to the end of the game, we'll be able to do the final tally and determine the winner. So even though David has lost nearly all of his army and will likely lose it all by the end of the game, there is still a chance, however slim, that he may be able to eke out the win. Though, given
within
the
a half inch.
given kind of the way that the game has gone, it is unlikely in this case that that will be the case. I would say that the conclusion of this game, though I don't have the score in front of me right now, is likely going to go in Aiden's favor, taking a win for Aiden's alliance.
said reroll? Because it's
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna do on 2s because it's strength 8. So that many, so 4 at AP.
2 damage.
AP 2 damage.
I'm gonna pull out of combat. 2 left.
Kind of go into some of the finer details on how this league is going to work. Each player is not actually competing as an individual in this league. They are actually playing as part of an alliance.
I got it.
Once again, this goes into part of that ongoing narrative that we've been talking about throughout the stream.
my turn?
There are currently
I get a
6
CP?
alliances playing. You can kind of think of these as the different
don't get any
teams.
primary?
So players who are of the same alliance will not fight each other. And the way that the alliances have been set up are based around a certain theme. That way the players involved in that alliance can feel somewhat coherent with the lore of the Warhammer 40k universe. The first alliance, which is actually going to be the one that Aiden is a part of, is known as the Imperium's Hammer. Players of that alliance are Sam Grable, Bradley Oates, Aiden Randall, and Matt Fear, who are playing the Astra Militarum, or Imperial Guard, as Sam would like to correct me. Bradley Oates will be playing the Sisters of Battle. Aiden, of course, is playing the Imperial Knights. And Matt Fear will be playing the Custodes. Legions Undivided is our second alliance. Players in that are Dave Henderson, who we'll see next week, who is playing the Thousand Sons. Dan Kimberly, who is playing the Black Legion. Of course, David Clark here with the Alpha Legion. And Spencer, who is playing the Chaos Space Marines. The third alliance is Flames of the Forge, which has my co-host, Graham Tevis, who will be playing the Iron Hands. Michael Rose, who will be playing the Ultramarines. Michael Eck, who we saw earlier, going to be playing the Salamanders. And John Trotter, also rounding out by playing the Imperial Knights. The fourth alliance in this league is Astartes United, an alliance of all Space Marines, featuring TJ Weinog, Nathan Baldwin as the Imperial Fists, Samuel Young as the Space Wolves, and Billy Hyde as a Space Marine player. TJ Weinog also playing Space Marines. I don't actually remember what chapter he's playing. I can't remember if he's going to be playing Death Watch in this league or if he's going to be playing Emperor's Spears. The fifth alliance that we've got is known as Blood and Destruction, featuring Nick Elief playing the Orcs, Ben Blights also on the Orcs, Joshua Keller as Drukari, and Nick Ruppel playing the Forces of Chaos as Be'lakor. And the final alliance is the Unlikely Allies, an amalgamation of factions that, under dire circumstances, will come together. We've got Hayden Huftaker, who will be playing the Eldar, Rich Lentes, who we saw earlier, who will be playing the Necron, Curtis Zumwalt, who will be playing the Dark Angels, and Jack McMullen, who is playing the Leagues of Votan. Again, we'll be seeing some of these others squaring off against each other later this week, or in the coming weeks, rather. We don't have another stream this week for the 40k League, but we'll be seeing these armies squaring off as the narrative goes forward. Again, next week we'll be seeing Dave Henderson with his Thousand Sons facing off against Billy Hyde with his Space Marines. With that, we've got that last cultist squaring off against the Knight Castellan, desperately trying to hold on to gain favor with the ruinous powers.
Dude, he's got this.
6. These are hitting on 6. I'm going to miss every single one. Nope. 2 AP, 1.
But through the forces of chaos, all things are possible. We may see this single cultist eke out this win yet. And with that, the cultist goes down, and we have the end of the game. Players shake hands with a good game. I'm going to check in just a couple of minutes and get the final score tally for this before we close out the night.
I think me getting first turn did a lot.
Yeah.
The Land Raider getting popped immediately was kind of fun.
That was... do we have a score tally? It's clearly Aiden's game.
It was like,
You had...
So I got...
You had a turn of 20, a turn of 5, a turn of...
It's 10 per objective, right?
Yeah, so it's 10, 10, 20, or 20, 10. I thought it was another 20. Because you were back there. So that's, and then you still have one more turn after this. What's turn 4?
Okay,
so you just go on 2 more, you'll get another 30 on it.
In command phase, I'm going to get another.
Well, it would be another, it's hold 1, hold more. So you get 20 there. So 3 20s and a 10.
So 70 points?
Okay.
10?
And then, did you guys get your hidden agendas?
I picked Slay the Warlord.
I literally could not do anything.
Gotcha.
What was your agenda?
So
don't. They have 3 different ones. You can still use
Okay. So it doesn't matter that I didn't pick one.
70-10, and then you did get your Slay the Warlord.
Because I evaporated the Demon Prince. He took
A lot of damage. It was like 21, 23, something like that.
Yeah. And then the Master of Executions took a lot of damage.
Just damn.
And with that, I just got the final score tally. It was a very, very foregone conclusion. Aiden is the winner of this game, the score being 70-10. And with that, on top of that, Aiden had elected to slay the Warlord as his hidden agenda. So he not only was able to win the day, but also complete his hidden agenda. David, unfortunately, was not able to complete his hidden agenda, nor was he able to eke out the win. But that is all we have for today's game. Definitely a fun way to start out the beginning of this league. One last time, this is Chandler, Inner Circle Spradling, signing off with the stream. Definitely join us next week at around 6:30, where we will have the second match of this league with Graham Tevis giving commentary. Thank you, and have a good night.